everyone, Lisa Gifford here and
Linda Winter. Hi guys.
And we are doing projects from Houston, but I think the title of the show is called something else.
Stitching from Houston.
Stitching from Houston. So basically what we're talking about today is some inspiration that Lynn and I had received while we were there, and going to show you a couple little things that we had found, you know, even projects that we're still in the midst of trying to figure out, but because of Houston, I was inspired by a couple of things that I had seen.
Absolutely. We didn't get as much of a chance to run around and see all the things, but we did get a good amount. We have lots of pictures that we took of the quilts. You'll be seeing some of those tomorrow in our So Much Therapy that we do with Valerie. So you'll get to see pictures of the booth and those kinds of things. So you'll hear Valerie's take on Houston as well. But we found a couple projects that we wanted to show you about, and then we'll do a little bit of sewing on one project that's a twist that I mentioned earlier. So do you want to start on, I guess, the one project to get it out of the way?
Yeah, we'll start on the one project to get it out of the way, because then I'm going to go and do the moderate while Linda does some stitching. So
no, you're going to talk some more.
I'm going to talk some more.
But look at this. Isn't this cute?
So we saw this cute little bitty project there, and it came in this little bitty box. So it was a whole bunch of fat eighths in here, and this was just the easiest, quickest little project that I was able to whip up in just a couple of hours. And of course, using the Martelli templates and rulers made everything very fast and everything precise and all that good stuff. But what I loved about this little project, even though it kind of makes this long table runner or wall hanging, which is not quilted yet, but I could see if I was just to take two of these components and put it together, then that could be a what is it, a placemat? Like you could be a placemat, or I just saw that you could take these two components and do a lot with it. Or I love the idea of making this little bow out of just two half square triangles and then add a little fabric to make this whole package. So I just saw that this can be broken down into several different cute projects that you could do with it.
And I see this, right here, I see this one as a pillow that's stuffed tall, just that you put on your front porch. And then next to it you have one of the stockings as another pillow.
They could be pillows.
So pillows that you put on your couch, you put on your front porch. You know, you can hang it outside as well. So it doesn't have to be a table runner. But
it's just solids too. That's all it is. It's just solids of shades of green, light to dark, and shades of red. So that's all this was. And it was just, excuse me, I'm choking. Just really quick. So we were able to snag about 9 of them. So we got 9 of these available, and we're going to put together a little bundle. So in this little bundle, we're going to include the backing fabric. So you're going to get about 1 yard of this fabric. So that's what we used here. The one that they had was just a white, or the sample that we had was just like verbiage.
It had red Christmas sayings on it. It was cute, it almost was too busy.
But this one here is really cool because it brings a little bit of glitter to it, and it says joy, joy, joy. I mean, just joy in all different comments and ways. I'm trying to see who makes this, and that way I can tell you who the designer of this fabric is.
I'm going to say Michael Miller, but I
think it's Robert Kaufman.
Right here.
Oh, it is. It's Kaufman. Robert. So it is Robert. It's Robert Kaufman fabric. So we're going to give you 1 yard of this fabric to go with this here. We're also going to include, it said, about 1/2 yard of fabric for a binding. So we had this really cute print here at the shop, and it is Clothworks, but look at that. That pulls out all the colors pretty much that's in this, and this would be really gorgeous as a binding, as a binding on here. So we've got 1/2 yard of this for a binding, and the pattern you see is not in the package. But if you look on the bottom here, there's a scan. So you'll scan this, And that way you'll be able to download. See, here's the scan right here. You can scan this and then you'll be able to download the pattern and print it out. And I've got it right here. It's just 3 pages.
I think for anybody that buys the kit, what I'm going to do is go ahead and print that out so you don't have to do the scanning.
Yep.
So for those of you that are not comfortable using your phone as a scanner, then we'll have those printed directions for you. So.
And we're also going to include, because this is a ruler that I used a lot in making this, was this little 2.5 by 12. So of course I used the strip ruler, you know, the longer one, so 2.5 inches was the main size that you cut, and then some 1.5 inches. But I use this for a lot of the little piecing and stuff like this. So a 2.5 by 12 ruler I thought would be a good addition to have to this. So with this kit, we're going to have the fabrics. You're going to have the little
the fat eighths,
you know, the little fat eighths. And I can't remember. There's 2, 4, 6, 8. 10. There, you know, there's 10 fabrics in here. A yard of the background fabric, a half a yard that you could use for a border, the 2.5 by 12 for the binding.
Well, you could do it as a border.
And then I guess she'll go ahead and print off all these directions so that you already have them. Yeah. And I just wanted you to see this right here. So these are the fabrics that I had left over. You know, here's what I had left of the pieces. Oh, and if you don't have these, I recommend you get them. Because if you don't have the Martelli chip markers, I used these because that's how I was able to label the fabrics that came with this. Cherry, malachite, mahogany, and then my 2.5 inch pieces, my 1.5 inch pieces. So I actually used these chip markers. They were very invaluable in marking this. And then of course the clips. I used the clips a lot. So these are the fabrics, you know, getting back to that, these are the fabrics that was left over. So this is what I had left of that yardage. I think I actually have a couple more pieces that's down there in my bin. But these are the pieces that I had left of all the fat eighths. So let me tell you, I think there's enough fabric here that you would be able to make more of these stockings and more of these the presents. So I don't know if there's enough to make a whole nother piece, but there's enough fabrics left over that you would be able to do some more projects with it. So I just kind of stuck them down in here just so you can see there was a lot.
And we've given you a little bit more of the backing fabric here, and then the binding fabric.
Yeah, because it literally only says you need 3/4 of a yard. So you're getting a yard. You're getting a yard. You only need 3/8, and you're getting a half a yard. So you're getting a little bit extra. So. When we get those posted, which I don't think it'll be maybe later today or tomorrow, there's only going to be 9 available. Don't ask me. I have no idea what the price is going to be, but we'll get that posted so that you'd be able to do this project
and
for
I'm
yourself.
going to say probably not later today. Because
probably not later today.
I've given Jessica a heads up, but we haven't given her all the pattern, all the pictures and all of the pieces that we've included with it.
So I'm thinking it's probably going to be
tomorrow. She's gotten
tomorrow.
this and a few other things. So we'll get that up. You'll have plenty of time to get that done for Christmas. That way, if you want to make these as gifts, or to, you know, if anybody has a bench, you know, right by their front door, this as a long pillow. I love pillows, as you can tell. I think a pillow is a great gift to give because, especially when it's seasonal like this, it's like, oh, I put your pillow out, and then you put it away. So it's not something you have to commit to all year long. So I always make pillows as one of my go-to gifts. So I think having that as a pillow would be really nice.
All right. Now, so just so that you know, Owen, it's a Riley Blake pattern. So just so that you know, and I love Riley Blake. She does some really cute things. So I'm going to set these aside.
Now we both got inspired by panels.
Okay. You know me, I'm all about panels. I love panels. And again, I've said it 1,000 times if I haven't said it once. I have stacks of them. I collect them. So anyway, I was inspired by some panel projects that I saw there. And so we all know about panels for using them for, you know, as the base of a quilt. I actually have that panel class that's coming up where I'll be showing you how to make that divided panel. Of course, you've seen me do the panels for the with the hummingbirds, where I've created the border for it so that you got the real pretty ribbon border going around it. I love panels, and I love the different projects. I love the element that they can bring to a quilt, but I saw some projects there that was made with panels that takes me out of that comfort zone of just making them for quilts. So I saw some bags and some different uses for it. So this is my start of my thinking of a project that this is where I've gotten so far. So I have it in my mind what I'm going to do, and I've already cut it up, and I've already started quilting it with a backing on it. and I've just got to figure out the design of the template of what it's going to be, because I see it in my head. I've just got to get all the dimensions figured out and the sizes figured out and all that good stuff. So this is what's coming.
It's going to be a new template.
Yeah, it's going to be a new template when I get there. But I see it. I just got to make sure that it works. Just because I see it doesn't mean it's going to work.
You'll get it to work. I know you. You'll get it to work.
But I just love this panel. And from what I could see in the project that I'm working on is this will work more for those horizontal panels than the ones that are tall and vertical. So this one is one of those horizontal scenes, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if I can get this to work for our bag. So anyway, this is as far as I've gotten since we've gotten back from Houston on this one.
And my hope is that this is going to become a class. So I'm always talking Lisa into doing more classes. So I think you guys really like when we're doing free classes. So it's a great way to walk through the process. And I think this would be a great class project. You've got some pockets that you want to add to it. You're going to do a special bottom to it. So I think it's going to be a great class. So thumbs up, give us hearts if you think that that should be a class that Lisa should do.
Working on it. Working on it. Let me get all of it figured out. And then Linda, you're going to help me write these instructions.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I always struggle with
especially since I talked you into it on the air. So
yeah, there we go. All right, so that's as far as I've gotten on things that was inspired. I'm inspired by panels. I saw several different things done with panels, so this is where I went with this.
All right, so I'm going to take this and you're going to hand me the hummingbird.
All right, there we go.
All right, so we worked in the booth quite a bit at the show for the little bit of time we were there, and we had the hummingbird quilt hanging. And I've always been inspired by the hummingbird, but I'm not going to do the quilt that everybody else has done because I'll be disappointed that I didn't take the time to do it right, to spend the time to cut accurately, measure accurately, all of that stuff, because I'm a get her done girl. But I love this panel, so I decided I wanted to do some projects with it. So things came up. I didn't get all the projects done, but you get the idea. With this panel, if you all remember the necessary clutch wallet that Linda Olson did, she used, show us the parts that she used. She did the butterfly.
She used this piece, and I believe she used this hummingbird.
Yeah, this was on the outside.
Yeah, this was on the inside. This was on the outside flap. This was the outside flap. This was the inside flap that she had used. So she had used these components, and then some of the pieces that looked like that were here was part of the inside flaps that was with that wallet. Yeah.
So you guys know that got the necessary clutch wallet template set that we have a fussy cut frame for that. So this is a great panel if you want to fussy cut the not only necessary clutch wallet, but fussy cutting anything. So squares, rectangles, triangles, we have so many different templates that have fussy cut frames. Even the boning pillow template has a fussy cut frame to it. So there are lots of things you can do with this. I just did a simple rectangle, and just with the simple rectangle, this was an 8x10, and I'm always making zipper bags and then I never carry them. So it's like, okay, this is a zipper bag that can be made out of the panel. And I didn't want to use up all of the best parts, so I've got the hummingbird on the front, and I've got part of the fabric that comes with the bundle. When you buy the bundle, this hummingbird panel is still available, and you get a kit. There's the aqua fabric, which I've used quite a bit of because I have another project that I'll show you. There's the white, there's the purple, there's the orange, and there's the yellow. So all of these coordinate beautifully with this, and you've got a lot of yardage to be able to make. So I used the aqua on the back, and then I used the purple on the inside. And if you haven't done these zippers and I need to grab it. If you haven't done these zippers where you're sewing on the top of this, I put my clips in there. If you haven't done the zippers where you're sewing on the top, you're basically just making an envelope. So you're sewing right sides together, flipping, and at this finished seam, top stitch once, and then sew the zipper on top here. It's a super easy way to do the zipper. And instead of fooling with the ends for the zipper, just put the zipper tabs. Remember when G showed us zipper tabs? I do a little bit differently, but the zipper tab concept, it's the same thing. The zipper tab concept, that allows me to just zip this closed. Now I didn't put a handle on here because I really see this as going inside a bag or inside something else. But the one thing you want to do with these zippers, this is a cheapy one from Hobby Lobby. They do make better zippers that don't stick. If your zipper does stick like this one does, then a little bit of soap, a little bit of wax, I've been told all kinds of things. But the little zipper bags that you can fussy cut with this. So The idea of the zipper bag with a simple rectangle. You can do triangles, you can do squares too. Face masks. This template, to make a face mask out of this guy here, you can see how I could easily place this on top and figure out where it is that I want it to go. So if I want this butterfly to be in the center of it, I'm going to fold my fabric from edge to edge where the center is on my map, figure out where the center point is on the template, and then that's going to line up with the fold. Same thing with here. So you can fussy cut using this, or you can trace this onto some cardstock and make your own fussy cut frame for this. So if you wanted to fussy cut just the butterfly, or just these flowers, or these butterflies. I love this leaf up here, and then this it just looks effervescent. It's harder to see on camera, but this is really pretty. So if I wanted to have a face mask done out of this, especially if you've used the hummingbirds for other things, then you can use the face mask to do those kinds of things. And I don't care what you say, but we're gonna be wearing face masks somewhere around sometime, so it doesn't ever hurt to make face masks. The oven mitt, we have the child size and we have the adult size. I think this panel would be absolutely gorgeous with the oven mitts. So the oven mitt to me is a great one to take advantage of this panel. Projects like this to me are get-her-done projects. So if you did do the quilt that Lisa did in our retreat with this panel, that took a little bit of time. When you're doing projects like this, these are get-her-done projects, and not only can you make one fast, you can make a bunch really, really fast. So I want to show you another project, and this is where it's the twist, and I still have more things that I need to do to tweak it, because the first one you make isn't always what it is that you want it to be. So this bag right here, I don't know if you guys can figure out what template I used. So there's a box bottom, down at the bottom, of course, that box pleat that's there on both sides. And we added a rivet that's a magnetic snap inside of here. And I used the lining fabric that was included in the kit. And then on the back side, I just grabbed some coordinating fabric that I had in my stash. If you guys have bought this fabric or gotten it from the fabric sale, you know how gorgeous this is and see how beautiful it works. You can certainly use more of the panel, but what I want to do is with the panel, I want to save my favorite parts for the panel. And even here, I just used the butterflies here. So I didn't want to use the hummingbird. The hummingbird is a little bit big here, and this guy here, they're both too big. These two are too big for this project. This guy here probably would be a good size for this, but when I place the template on that you all will see in a minute, you'll see that it's really too, it's not the right position. So Lisa, has anybody figured out what this template is? Do y'all know what this template was that I used?
I don't think anybody has said anything yet.
So nobody has figured out what this is.
To be honest, I didn't even know what that template was, and I came up with that template. So
exactly. Okay, now you notice I've got a strap here, and with the strap,
on.
I've just pinned it. So this guy here, I've just pinned the strap because I want to show you how to use the strap. But these straps are available for purchase. You can also grab them from your old clothing and those kinds. Did somebody get it?
We have a winner.
Who got it?
Laura.
Who did?
Laura Crowell.
Oh, Laura, good for you. So Laura, if everybody, oops, there goes my panel. Hey, Lisa, can you come grab my panel that I just dropped on the floor?
Yep.
Okay, so I used the tasket basket, but I used it a little bit differently. So we have 4 sizes of the tasket basket, and I used the larger of the 2 small sizes. So this one was a little bit too big, and this one was a little bit too small. So I'm going to show you how I adjust this to make it a little bit larger, and then also be able to figure out where it is that I want for my fabric. So you guys can, again, figure out, let me grab my other fabric here. I've already cut my backing and I've cut my lining. We need 2 linings and we need 1 backing. And you can see this is just a little bit more contrast than this. And I should have grabbed the purple or another color for the lining. But this right here can be the backing, and then this is going to be the lining. So you can fussy cut if you want to with this, but what I did was I chose not to use all of the gorgeous hummingbirds and those kinds of things. I placed this on and I wanted to look and see where is it that I'm going to lose my hummingbird. Now I want to add to my template a couple inches, almost 2 inches. So when I place this on here, if I look to see right down here, I'm going to square off my project first, once I know what it is that I want. So I basically need to double. So if I'm looking at this, I'm going to fold this over, and you can see I've got from here to here, but I'm going to actually be bringing it up a little bit, and I'll show you the measurement in a second. So if I'm going to use this at the bottom, right here, I'm not going to be using, I'm going to be using all of this. And I do like the flowers that are down there. Do you see how that's going to get a little bit into his beak? I'm okay with that. That means I'm not going to be able to use the hummingbird. But if I use this hummingbird up here, I wouldn't have been able to use him anyway. So if you did something special with this, this guy wouldn't be able to be used. So what I'm going to do is fold my fabric over. And my fold, when I look at this, you can see we're going to do the template a little bit different. We're not going this way. This is where it would normally be. So we're not going to have the fabric on the fold there. We're going to be placing the template on the other side. So you can see right here, I've got enough fabric here, but I don't have as much here. So I'm going to pull that over just a little bit, because I'm going to have to flip this over to the other side, this fabric over to the other side. But what I want to do is add to my height. So when I add to my height, I'm going to line up these two with my selvage right there. And you can see that, and I'm going to grab one of my Wonder Clips just to hold that in place. And I would grab a straight pin, just a pin up here, but I don't have any straight pins up here. I'm going to flip that over and hope that I've got enough fabric on the back, and we'll double check in a second. Okay, if we were cutting the template as is, you can see how incorrect I am with this placement. But the fold would be here. Originally, when I did this one here, that's what I did. I placed this down here, cut that off, and I actually made it a little bit wider. I'm still going to leave the width like it is, but what I want to do, thank you, Lisa, what I'm going to do is make it a little bit taller. And you can see just by looking back here, can you all see my fabric is right there just barely. So I am going to pull that over just a little bit on the back side. And you could take the time to do this a little more neatly than I am, but you get the idea. So, and I've got my mat in this direction. I'd really be working on the side over on the edge, so I've got the length of this project in front of me. Okay, so I want to add almost 2 inches. So I've already cut these two, so I'm going to fold these up, and we'll look at our mat for measuring, and almost 2 inches. So when I look over here, we're going to square off this right here. So all of that selvage that I have, I'm going to grab one of my rulers. We're going to square that off. And if I've got everything folded correctly, my rotary cutter, let's grab one of my 28 millimeters. I'm going to use the 28 millimeter because I've got the curve on here, but you don't have to. You can use the 45 millimeter if you want to. And you just have to take your time. Okay, so we're going to line this up to the edge. And I've got a little bit of selvage there. That's okay, because that's going to be in the seam allowance, so no big deal. All right, so we're going to place this here along that edge, and 1, 2, there's my 2 inches, but I don't want to go exactly to 2. And this is just a personal preference, so you can look to see right about here is where I want that to be. So I'm going to bring that down just a hair. And it is the lining that or that's the backing, and so those two should match, and then the lining can be a little bit less even. So we've already squared this off. What we're going to do is go ahead and cut around here. And I'm going to hold down because this template, when I get further away, it wants to lift up a little bit. So we're just going to cut that there. And you can see how I'm getting into that hummingbird, and I'm okay with that because, again, I'm probably going to be using this other guy for something else. We're going to grab all of this. Notice how I'm holding down on that template, and we're going to cut this down. Now, I'm going to cut just to here. So I've cut, and now I want to move that template, line it up with the edge. The beauty of the no-slip material is that that all grabs. And as long as I've got that all lined up, I'm going to finish screwing up, and I've got a fold in this fabric. That's okay. We don't need that. Okay, so what we've got is now half with this as being our center. I'm going to flip this over. And again, you can see a little bit of that selvage. I don't care. We're going to place this on, lining it up to the edges. And I'm going to cut off my bottom so that I've got a box bottom. Now, the cuts that are there, they're really made for the 45 millimeter. And this 28, it'll go in there, but I'm not really getting all of that, so I'm going to use my snippets and get the rest of that. But that is going to give me the box pleat a little bit differently than what we've done with our tasket basket. And let's see what it is that we've got. All right, how cool is that? So this is going to be my bag front. This is going to be my bag back. And let's get those lined up right. And then I've got my two linings. And what we're going to do is sew the bag front to the lining, the bag back to the lining, and then we're going to sew the sides together. So you can see how this right here, if I move that over, those would line up. So that's how I get those pieces to match up. Now when I cut the linings, I actually cut two of the fabrics at the same time. So we're going to take this. We're going to go to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch lining to outside. So pin, 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 clip, 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 whatever it is that you want to do, and we'll stitch those along the way here. We're going to do that. Once we do that, then we're going to do the same thing. This is the lining, and this is the back. And again, I should have chosen a different color for you guys to be able to see. And pin, 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 clip, 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 whatever way you like to do. All right, so what that's going to give me is lining to back, lining to front. So we would stitch that along. Once we've stitched those, then, Lisa, should I stitch? Do we have time to stitch? Okay, so we're going to take these to the sewing machine. I don't need these here. I am going to take this because I want you all to be able to reference this. We're not going to do the snap in the front on camera just because of time, and not all of you guys have the tool for rivets, but you can do a snap all on your own from wherever it is that you've gotten your snaps. And I always have to remind myself how this machine works because I don't have this machine at home. Okay, so you notice what I'm not doing. I'm not pinning. So you guys take the time to pin, 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 clip, clip, clip. And pinking shears or snippets. Pinking shears to me are my favorite new tool to use when I'm doing curves. Now when I get to the curve in the center, I'm just going to take a second to lift, and oh yeah, see this one, I forget, it pivots for me. How many of you go from one machine?
Yes, it pivots.
What's that?
The foot lifts.
I know, but you know, it's funny. How many of you go from one machine to another, and you get used to one thing, and then another machine has that feature, but your machine doesn't? My machine, I mean, maybe mine does do this, and I just don't have it turned on.
I still have the seam guide on there too. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Y'all can see what it is that I'm doing, right? So notice over here, I'm not getting these lined up perfectly, and I'm okay with it because this strap is going to be folded down, and I'm going to use a store-bought, a store-bought leather strap, a pleather strap that you can get from anywhere. And again, you notice I'm not back tacking on any of this. It's going to be in the seam allowances, so if you feel comfortable back tacking, when we do where we're going to be turning it, then yeah, back tacking is going to be critical. And I probably would, if I really were taking the time, I'd probably pin that center. Oh, who am I kidding? I wouldn't pin the center. I would just do what I'm doing here.
Do you want me to snip those curves for you?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. That would be great. All right, so Lisa's going to snip those curves, and if you want to use the pinking shears, you can do that, or snip, whatever way works for you. And then we're going to sew these two together. Now, what's nice about this is you could add a pocket, you could add zippers, you could add all kinds of embellishments if you want to. Because I wanted the panel to be the focus, I'm going to let the panel do the work for me. So I'm not adding anything else. But if I really were making this to use, you better believe there would be pockets inside. I'm a pocket girl, and I need lots and lots of pockets. And you notice I'm not adding any stability, any interfacing, anything at all here. You don't have to because this is a slouchy bag, but if you were going to add pockets, you definitely would want to. So, oh, you're going to snip. Thank you. All right, so what I'm going to do when I get that back is we're going to open these up, and we would press really well, but we're not going to. So we're going
You
to,
can press it if you want.
that's, well, not yet.
I got this
We
machine,
may.
this one,
Is
so
it on?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Just takes
All right,
a
great.
second.
Okay, so we're going to be sewing the sides, the straps down here on each side. And then we're going to do the bottom, and then we're going to do the box pleats at the bottom. What I love about Martelli's templates with the box bottoms, yeah, I got exactly the size I wanted, but if I wanted it a little bit less, I could have hung that template a little bit over the edge here and a little bit over the edge here and made a smaller box bottom. This is a pretty big box bottom for a bag. You can see that's big. You may not want it to be that big, but that's the beauty of this no-slip material. Thank you. All right, good. All right, so we're going to grab these, and this is the outside, and this is the outside, so we're going to line those two up together, and then I have my lining together, and we are going
Need more pins?
to, I think we're, yeah, I probably will
Well,
take
there's
pins.
a whole bunch of pins right
Oh,
there
yeah.
too.
Yeah, all right, so let me grab a couple of these pins. I'm going to, and you notice those pins are on my right side. I'm a lefty.
Sorry.
So, oh, no, no, no. I don't know if y'all saw what I did. I put them in my wool mat over here. The wool mat is a great pin cushion. All right, so I'm going to line up the bottom. The bottom here matters more than the top because that top is going to be folded over. And you can pin or clip, or you can start sewing, whatever way works for you. And I'm not pressing these straps open. I would press them open because that will make a difference. But in the big scheme of things for what we're doing here, it's not going to make a huge difference. Okay, so we're going to get all this laid out. I've got about a 1/4 inch, maybe even a little bit less than a 1/4 of an inch, really. And 3/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, whatever you like. And my fabric moved a little bit on me, so it's okay. Because remember, this is a get her done project. And what's nice about get her done projects is nobody's ever going to know if it didn't all line up perfectly, especially with the box bottoms that are there. If you wanted to do a fusible, SF101 would be a good one to use. I love that fusible fleece that I used in one of my projects, and I can never remember the number, but it's like 829 or 879, or it's not one that I hear people talk about, but it is fusible fleece. Whoops, and I didn't cut my thread there. It's a thinner fusible fleece, and I brought it in to show Lisa, and she's like, oh yeah, that's fusible fleece. And I think of fleece as being really, really heavy and thick, but there is a fusible fleece that I love.
Yeah, you had the lightweight.
Yeah, the lightweight fusible fleece, and I bought a ton of it because I love it so much. Okay, so we are going to and right now I'm just working on the outside. All right, so let's take a look at what we've done. So you can see so far, right in here, if we look to see, and I'm turning it right sides out just so you can see it. I'm going to be flipping it right sides back again so that that's inside, but you can see where the pressing is going to need to go, you know, right around this curve. The curve is going to need some good pressing, but let's go ahead and do our box bottoms. We're going to leave the tops of the straps alone, and we're going to keep those closed. Let's whip up this other side first. We're going to leave the tops alone because we're not doing anything with it. We're not finishing those off in any way, and I'm just going to hold these together. And that quilting bar does like to grab your fabric, so go from your quilting to your sewing foot, probably.
You can just pull that off.
Oh, that's okay. We're
It just
good.
slides out.
All right. And again, you get the idea of what we're doing. We're just doing basic bag construction, but we're using the tasket basket in a different way than what it was designed to do. And again, that's one of the cool things about the templates. You do whatever it is you want. Like Lisa said, you've got something in your head and you try it out. And I've got probably a good quarter of an inch, or an eighth of an inch here, so I really should have at least a quarter of an inch, if not more. Okay, so this is the bottom of the outside, 2 pieces, so we're going to stitch those together. We're going to leave a turning area in the lining, and I think I'll work on the front, because remember how I've got a little bit of the white from the selvage showing. And when we do our lining, we'll increase the seam allowance just a little bit more. All right, box bottom. And you would take the time to press these box bottom seams open. All I'm going to do is just put my fingers inside and get my fabric kind of lined up. You'll want to take the time to, if you press your seams open, then you don't have to worry about it. If you're going to do what I'm going to do, if I can get the fabric to work, then we're going to have fabric going in one direction and then fabric going in the other direction. This is the outside, so the one thing you would care about is having those seams lined up. I'm not going to take the time right now just because I want y'all to be able to see kind of how this comes together.
Laura's asking, who was it that loves serger projects? Because she's thinking that this would be a good serger project.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think the only problem with the serger is the curves at the top. You just have to take your time, you know, so that you've got that nice curve. But sergers really love curves too. So, you know, and if you're comfortable with your serger, then yeah, for sure. Okay. So again, I'm just lining those seams in the middle up, and we're doing a quick job here. And just make sure you don't create any folds when you get to that corner. If you take the time to pin, you're not going to have any of those issues. You notice too, I'm not backstitching backstitch. This is a do as I say, not as I do. So on that project, right down at the corners, then yes, you do want to backstitch. Okay, and oh, I forgot. I do want to do a seam allowance a little bit wider here because this is my lining. And even on the sides here, I really should have increased my seam allowance a little bit. If you find it doesn't turn as well, and I've got something caught. If you find it doesn't turn as well, then you know, you can go ahead and increase that seam allowance a little bit. And I got a thread caught, but that's okay. It all comes out in the wash, right? All right, so right about here, I'm gonna just hold in place. That locks my stitches in. I'm gonna give myself a couple inches. And you notice I'm just holding that in place. Box the bottoms, and I've got a wider seam allowance here than I do here, so my bottoms are not gonna line up evenly. I probably would take the time to go back and increase the side seam allowance because again, that's the lining. I don't have any fusible in here, so it's not like it matters as much about that wider seam allowance. When you're using a fusible, especially a fleece or the foam, then yeah, you definitely want that seam allowance to be wider for the lining than for your outside. All right. And again, we would go ahead and take our time with all of this, but I want you all to be able to see. I keep looking at the clock and thinking, how quickly can I get this to where y'all can see it?
You're doing really good.
So, how's everybody doing out there? How many of you have the Tasket basket and have thought about doing something different besides the Tasket basket? Tasket basket is one of my favorite go-to gifts. I think every gift is better when it's in a basket. And that Tasket basket is amazing. Okay, so what have we done? We've left ourselves this little area here for my opening. Take the time to press. I'm just going to flip everything out. We would spend a lot of time pressing here, and even top stitching around that curve would really make it look nice. I've got white thread in here. I'm not going to do any top stitching. Color coordinate when you do a top stitching on a project like this. It just really, it's worth the effort. So take the time pressing, take the time clipping. All those little things make a huge difference. So all of those things. Now, how many of you have forceps? What are they called? Not forceps. Amy, what are they called? You know, the medical tool.
Locking tweezers?
Locking tweezers would work, but what are the scissors
Clamps?
that clamps? All right, so right here, I'm going to show you what we've got. And again, we would take the time to press. But you'll get the idea. Okay. So you can see it's starting to take shape. Can you see the difference in the height here than in the height here? This one is the height of the Tasket basket. We added a pleat here. When I got here, Lisa said, hey, let's put a rivet in there with the magnetic snap. We added a pleat because on this one, I don't know why, I thought, hey, it would be better wider. So no, don't make it wider, make it taller. I like this look a whole lot better. So after you take the time pressing all of this, top stitching all of this, then this right here, what we would end up doing for the straps, let's get to our side seam. And right here, imagine that that has been pressed nicely. So we would just simply stitch over. All right, it's still ugly. See how ugly that is? Well, we would fold that over one more time. I'm going to take the strap off of this one. I love these straps. You do not have to buy these from, you know, a store. You can go grab from your closet all those things that you have. And right here, I'm going to place this inside. And do you see, if we had folded this down one more time, of course, trim all of that. And then take the time to make it look nice and neat, but we're just going to stitch that down. So what that ends up giving us is a really nice looking strap. So a little bit dark. So there, oh, perfect. Okay, so you can
this
see
sort of like
there.
a sling bag.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. So we've got half of that would be done, and then the other side would be done. So a Tasket basket, look at that. I mean,
That
you can
is
see
so
what
cute, Linda.
you could see what pressing would do, and you could see what the hummingbird would look like on here. Any of your panels that you have, any of those fabrics where you've got a focal fabric, look how adorable this wet bag would be. Okay, so that is what we've got. So I hope that is going to be something that you will try, that you'll play with, and post some pictures. So Lisa, anything you want to add?
I just love that. I mean, that just turned out, I like it better the way that you did this one with it being taller.
Oh yeah,
and,
well this was the first one, this is the second one, so you all get the idea. And look at the box pleat, you can see how it's a perfect size.
And I see it would also be great if you put a snap in it too. They could
yeah.
put a magnetic snap in it, or if you have the Martelli, what is it, those other little snaps that we have, those little plastic snaps?
Our snaps.
Yeah,
Use
the
snap
snaps.
tool that you have.
Yeah,
do a color tool.
Yeah, that
so
is absolutely
now
darling.
that's the back side. Flip it around so they can see the pretty side.
Oh, well, okay. I was looking at the pretty side. So that top stitch this, top stitch this.
Again, press, top stitch, take the time.
You could actually do a D-ring here, and you could get one of those swivel hooks or something like that we've been learning about with doing the necessary touch wash.
So my original plan with this, and when I started putting it on the panel, it ate up too much of my panel, but I wanted these straps to be a lot longer here. and then have it finished at a little point. And then you tie these two together.
Oh, so that would just be making
yeah.
making it a lot longer.
So,
Yeah, you can do
and that I wanted to do from the large, but on the panel, which was my inspiration from Houston, I didn't want to waste all of my hummingbird panels. So
As if you can't get any more.
well, you know, but I hate wasting fabric that just doesn't get put to good use. But you guys that are out there, take the fabrics that you have, the bundle that we already mentioned. This bundle, you can see I used a lot of the aqua. It comes with the hummingbird panel. You've got all these gorgeous colors. You know, there's so many cute things that you can do with the panel fabric. And again, we're not even looking at the hummingbird, so you get the idea, right? All right, guys, sewing from Houston.
I'm cold. I had to put a sweater on.
All right, we hope it gave you some inspiration. I can't wait to see what Lisa's going to do with her bag. That is going to be such a cool project. And you guys let us know you want a class, right? Right? Yeah. Okay.
All right, so then you're going to see us tomorrow, where we will be having Valerie with us, and we will be talking about
Back from Houston.
And we'll have lots of pictures to show you. So thank you so much for joining us
Thanks,
today.
guys.
I think we saw about 40 of you, and be sure to like, comment, share. We really appreciate that, your support. And again, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this quick little class.
Bye.
Bye-bye.